We continue our series of interview on various subjects of law, and today the Dallas Telegraph speaks to attorney of Robinson Cardonsky Law Office, John Drury, on the subject of immigration. Hello, John.
Hello.
Could you tell me and our readers about situation on immigration in Texas? Do you have some differences with other states?
Well, in Texas, the bulk of the immigrant population coming in is still South American and Mexican nationals, pretty much escaping torture and terror and gang violence down in their countries. Last year we had the large volume of unaccompanied minor children come across, and that continues to this day. I've also seen a rise in Ukrainian population seeking help, and more recently I've seen a rise in Muslim populations seeking help, having to do with what's going on in Syria, things like that. Immigration, the volume of people in immigration changes with what's going on in the world, and right now there's a lot of Muslim populations that are scared of what's going on there and trying to escape that type of persecution here.
Okay, thank you. At the newspaper, we hear lots of stories of people fail into trap with indecent lawyers. Who they are, these so-called lawyers? Could you explain, please?
Yes, ma'am. Well, there are questionable lawyers out there, just like in any profession. There's questionable people. But there's a lot of people that try to take advantage of immigrants. A lot of them refer to themselves as notarios. In other countries, notaries are allowed to do a lot of legal documents, and a lot of foreign nationals of those countries understand that notarios have some type of legal power, where in the United States, a notary does not. So these notarios advertise as notarios, and they seek immigrants to fill out their applications and stuff like that, and tell them a lot of times that they can get them whatever they want.
But in most cases it's not true, right?
In most cases it's not true. You need to be very leery of anyone that tells you, I can guarantee you this, I can guarantee you that. Immigration is a lot about discretionary benefits. Everything's discretionary on the Secretary of Homeland Security, and immigrants need to be leery of either lawyers or notarios that are telling them that they can guarantee them an immigration benefit. What notarios will do a lot of times is they'll have you sign the bottom of a piece of a form without even filling out the form. They'll charge substantially less money than attorney would.
How less? How much?
Where, like, if we're charging $1,000, $1,500 to do a case, notarios are charging $100, $150 to do the same case. The other thing is the notarios aren't putting their names on the immigration forms. There's two people other than yourself that can fill out immigration forms for you: lawyers and BIA accredited individuals, like
BIA, could you
Board of Immigration Appeals. They're accredited people, like the Catholic Charities. A lot of nonprofits they'll get accreditations, and they'll be allowed to do immigration paperwork for these individuals. Other than that, if you're paying somebody to do your immigration paperwork and they're not a lawyer and they're not BIA accredited, it's unlawful practice of law. And
it is penalized, right?
Yes, it's illegal. It's hard to catch a lot of the people. The notarios, they'll set up shop for a couple weeks in one state or in one city, and then they'll move along throughout the country. It's big in California. I've known about it down in Galveston where I started practicing. I know about it in Florida. And so what happens is these notarios will take advantage of these immigrants. they'll promise them things that they can't guarantee.
To promise them heaven, right?
Yes,
American heaven, American dream.
Sure. And then they'll take the money, they'll fill out this paperwork, they'll send it off to immigration, and then it leaves people in bad situations. A lot of times those individuals don't qualify for the immigration benefits that they're applying for. And then it goes to immigration, they process the applications, they realize that the immigrant doesn't qualify, and then the immigrant finds themselves in deportation proceedings.
And nobody catch such lawyers.
Lawyers. I wouldn't call them lawyers because I'd like to think that most lawyers aren't doing this. There are lawyers out there, and you hear about them all the time, and they end up getting caught and going to jail that do fraudulent things for people's cases, and a lot of times they get caught and they end up in prison.
John, before interview, you mentioned that when you were practicing law back in Galveston,
Yes.
you had some case with Ukrainians who were involved in such a situation.
Yes, I knew of some Ukrainians that they were using a notario out of Florida to file their paperwork for them. One of them ended up in deportation proceedings because the notario didn't fill out the paperwork correctly. He didn't qualify for the benefit that he was seeking, and he ended up in deportation. I also had a Bulgarian that came into my office. She had used a notario, and for a change of status to a tourist visa, they filed the paperwork was filed wrong, and she ended up coming out of status because everything was denied, and she was out of status, started accruing unlawful presence, and I explained to her that at this point there's nothing I can do for her and that she needed to go home. But had she come to me at the very beginning, everything could have been taken care of and she wouldn't be in the situation that she's in.
But how to avoid such notarios for just simple people who don't know what is difference between notario and lawyer?
Well, every bar, every state bar has a website, and you can take the lawyer's name that you get and you can go to that website and you can see if they're allowed to practice law within that state. With immigration law, just because I'm licensed to practice in Texas, because it's a federal law, I can practice all over the country. So there might be a lawyer that you're seeing here that's practicing just immigration law that's not actually licensed in Texas, but they may be licensed in New York, and they're allowed to practice immigration law. So you need to find out what licensing authority gave them their license. You need to go to their website and make sure that they're accredited. And the other thing is
the price.
Notarios, and they're going to charge substantially less money than attorney's going to charge. But one of the big thing is an attorney is going to sign the bottom of that form.
But notario no.
Notario is not going to. And another thing is every time an attorney submits a form with immigration and enters appearance on behalf of the immigrant, they fill out what's called a G28.
G28.
And it's a form that allows me to be your representative in front of immigration. So if you're not filling out those G28s when you're signing forms, then you need to question what's going on. Another thing you need to question is if someone gives you a form and has you sign a blank form on the bottom and then says, don't worry about it, I'm going to take care of it.
It just should be a warning, right?
It should be a very big warning. Because like what I do when I fill out the forms and everything, I bring my clients back in and we go over line by line on that form before we both sign it. And they always sign G28s with me.
Do we have such notario here in Dallas?
Before the interview, I was searching Craigslist. That's where I see a lot of them. I've seen them in Craigslist. And I did not find any on today's.
But it doesn't matter, right?
Yeah, I'm sure they're here. They're sneaky. A lot of times it's through word of mouth. But I've seen a lot of them in the past post ads on Craigslist.
Does it mean that we don't need to use Craigslist to find immigration lawyer?
Well, like when I searched today, there were lawyers that were advertising on Craigslist. And I searched their names and made sure that they were attorneys, and they were. So I'm not saying don't use Craigslist to find an attorney. I wouldn't limit it to Craigslist. It wouldn't be my first place to go to. I would definitely ask people that you know, and search the internet and look for reviews on attorneys.
Read
newspapers.
Just not Notario put any ad in newspaper, right? Because
if they get
it is visible, right?
It's visible, and if they get caught, it's unlawful practice of law, and that's a criminal offense.
John, to summarize our interview, what should you recommend to our readers, readers who have relatives in Ukraine and Russia, in Belarus, if they want to bring their relatives here in America?
Well, I recommend that they read your newspaper and they search several different immigration attorneys. Talk to several different immigration attorneys and find out who they are comfortable with. One thing about hiring attorneys, you need to make sure that you're comfortable with that person. You need to search reviews, see what attorneys have reviews, talk to your friends and relatives and see who they've used and who they recommend. But stay away from low prices and Craigslist. If the price is too low, relatively speaking, if they're saying $100, $200, $300 for something, question that because they're taking advantage of you. And at the end of the day, they may promise you the world, and then you're going to end up in deportation proceedings and back in your country.
And don't cross the Mexican border, right?
Yes. Don't try to do anything illegal, whether lie on the application or cross borders illegally, because once you cross a border illegally, the ability to get you an immigration benefit drops significantly.
Be careful.
Be very careful.
And the lawyer is your friend.
The law is your friend. You can't lie. You can't deceive immigration. But you need to start out doing everything right in the very beginning, because it's a snowball effect. If you do something wrong at the beginning, it's just going to get worse as time goes on.
Be law-abiding citizen. Thank you so much.
Thank you.